Hello friends, do not throw out your old decor. When you see this video, you are going to know why. Let's get started and see what I did with some trash.
A friend of mine posted in a group message that this mirror was up for grabs. Did anyone want it? Of course, I said I would take it because I knew I could upscale this mirror and make it something beautiful. So I took it home, took it out to the craft cottage, got some alcohol and cleaned the mirror part of it really good and the frame, and then I took the frosted glass by Rust-Oleum and took it outside and gave it a good spray. And then I'm going to take beadboard by DIY Paint and paint the frame. Now, if you want to try DIY paints, I have a link to Sammy from Unicorn Dust Designs website in the description box below. If you want to check out her website and get some DIY paints, I would highly recommend it. So I just gave this one good coat is all it took. Thought I was going to be slick and try to use that big paintbrush to get the edges, and it wasn't wise. I made a little boo-boo, but I fixed it. So I ended up getting this smaller paintbrush and it worked beautifully. I just took my time and went all around the edge and then went back with my big paintbrush and got in all the little nooks and crannies. I went back and forth with the big paintbrush and the small paintbrush so I could get in all those little crevices, down in the little holes where in the top part of the frame where that pretty little scrolly part is. And just took my time, painted it, and it has a little bit of texture on it, which is nice. I love the texture that it had on it. And there I'm going with that little paintbrush again, getting down in the little nooks and crannies, down inside there where I couldn't get very good with the larger paintbrush. Now, this originally came from Hobby Lobby. It's more of a resin piece. It's not wood. It's more like plastic resin, which it's very easy to paint. And like I said, I really just did one good full coat. There were a couple of places that I didn't get the paint on really well, and so I just went back over it after it was dry and touched it up, but really just did one coat of paint. Now, while that paint dries, I'm going to get out my Amazing Casting resin. It's the white one that dries in only 10 minutes. This is the one you want to look for if you want it to dry in 10 minutes. There's a part A and a part B. You mix them together, equal parts. I'm going to mix it in this silicone mixing cup. Just mix it for about 30 seconds. Don't mix it too long like I did, or it sets up too fast and then you end up with a mess. You're going to see it at the end. So I have this beautiful Christmas tree mold from IOD. I also get my IOD products from Sammy at www.unicorndustdesigns.com. That's linked in the description box. But you're going to see while I'm messing with this in my right hand, over in my left hand, that cup is setting up because I waited too long. And you can see how that's already setting up there while I'm trying to move it into all the little nooks and crannies while my hair's all in the picture frame. Okay, so you can see how quick that sets up. And then we're going to do I mixed up some fresh, and we're going to do some snowflakes. And I had plenty to do the small snowflakes and the large one. Now, my crafting table is not level in the middle. I know this to be a fact because it's two pieces that we pieced together, and in the center it's a little bit higher than it is on the edges. And as I'm pouring this in here, it just starts to run out the side, and it was a big mess. It was a hot mess. But luckily, the silicone, the resin comes off the silicone really easy. So I just wiped it off the side and kind of leveled it out a little bit, the best I could with the popsicle stick, and it came out fine. It was very thin on the edges, and it peeled off really easily. I wasn't even going to use that one in this project but that one will be for a project in the future. Now to peel these off, it is super easy. They peel right out of these molds. And there's that little star, so cute. This tree is absolutely gorgeous, guys. And it's thin, it's not a huge thick piece, which I like. And you can't see the detail in this until we go to paint it, but those branches look like real branches. Okay, I'm going to use some Monet's Garden by DIY. It's a dark green, and it is a cool green. It has, more of a blue base. So I'm going to make it look like, it's a Christmas tree. So I am stippling it on so that I can get the paint all down in those areas. Because if I were just to brush it, it would only go in the top. So I'm using an old brush that I don't care about. You could use a chippy brush, but my chippy brushes, the bristles tend to come out. And I didn't really want to mess with that. So I have this old brush that is a little bit worse for wear and kind of beat up. And I use it a lot to do this with. So I just took my time, used plenty of paint, and just kept stippling it in, and brushing it around, stippling it in until I got the entire tree covered with this beautiful green, darker green. It looks like evergreen color of paint. And then I used my heat gun to dry it a little bit. And then I used some weathered wood and painted it on the bottom. And then a few of the branches throughout the tree that you could see, I went ahead and dabbed it on those little branches throughout right there. You can see me doing that. I didn't do a lot of it, and in the end, you can't really see it that much, but I knew I did it, so I guess that's what counts. And so, yeah, you see me just dabbing a little bit of that weathered wood by DIY in there on those little branches that you could see. It's really hard to see all that detail right now, what I'm working with, but you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So I'm using my heat gun and dry that up a little bit. And then I'm going to take some Queen Bee and we're going to paint our little star. We're not going to paint the snowflakes yellow, so no fear. We're going to paint that little star with some Queen Bee. It makes it's a beautiful color for a star. And then, okay, I'm taking forever to paint this tiny little star. Okay, we're going to paint the star. And then we're going to take some prom queen and we're going to paint the snowflakes. Again, I'm doing that stippling effect because there is so much texture and beauty in these snowflakes. And when you see what it looks like when I put that white wax on there, it's jaw-dropping. It is jaw-dropping. So I'm just giving you a little heads up. So I did the prom queen on all three of these snowflakes. I did one medium size and two small ones and dried everything with the dryer, my heat gun, or you can use a blow dryer. And then I took this bronze rub and buff, gilding wax, whatever it's called, something like that, with a little makeup sponge, eyeshadow sponge, and applied it on there. Now, hindsight, I probably would not have done this. It turns out fine, but it kind of darkened it up a little more than I wanted. I do end up putting some white wax on it, but it just made it a little darker than I wanted, I think. So here I go with the white wax. And it turns out fine. It turns out fine, but I could have just skipped the step of the gold. I thought it was going to look a little different. It's more bronze. If it were more gold, it would have been better. Okay, here we go with this white wax. Now, I did just a coat of the white wax over all three of these. And I want you to know it brings out all of these details. And I just love snowflakes. I love snowflakes because they're all different. And, you know, there's all that saying that no two snowflakes are the same. And I love that because I feel like, you know, the beauty of nature and how God makes things so unique. And, you know, he knows all the different snowflakes. He knows how many hairs are on our head. And He cares about us that much, and he cares about nature that much. And so snowflakes just remind me of that. And so you're going to see all the detail in these snowflakes when you put that white wax on. Look at that. Would you just look at that? So then I go in with that same little, I'm using like a wax brush that I got off Amazon. And I'm just going to do it, start out doing it just lightly on the tree. And then I go back and start stippling it heavier on the tree. And what I didn't realize were there were some little berries on this tree. I didn't even see that detail until I started putting this white wax on. And then I'm going to put some Marquee on there. I'm going to take this Marquee and a Q-tip. Now I'm going to make this Q-tip really tight down there, because the paint, it's going to do a thing with that Q-tip. But I just put a little bit on there, and I just dab it on a few of those little berries all over that tree. Because, I've already white waxed it, so I don't really want it to be stark. I don't want it to be stark anyway. I just want it to look like those berries are kind of peeking through the branches. So here you go. You can see a little up close here where I'm just kind of taking that, and I end up twisting that Q-tip and taking some of the cotton off and twisting it. Then I decided it was a little too stark because everything else had the white wax on it. So I just white waxed it a little bit with that Q-tip just to tone it down a little bit and make it blend in and look cohesive to all the rest of the piece. And I think it looks gorgeous. And then I decided I wanted a little more white wax on these snowflakes after they had completely dried. I went in and just stippled some white wax on there pretty thick. I thought they still looked a little too blue. I didn't want them to predominantly look blue, so that's what I did. Okay, then this frame originally had that gold on there, and I decided I wanted some silver on there because my colors are pretty cool. The blue and that green, they're in the cool color family. So I decided to use this metallic silver by Folk Art, and I'm just using the side of my brush with this not a heavy paint on there to just brush it on the sides of those raised parts just to give it, a little dimension and not look so flat, just little accent pieces. So, if you don't like this look, by all means, don't do it. But, I'm all about some dry brush, some distress, that type of look. And then I just went around the edges and just faintly put it here and there. And, some places was a little heavier than others. And some places I smudged it and just not perfection all the way around. It was just kind of randomness. And I love how it turned out. Yep, I end up dry brushing that around there. Oh, now I'm using some Big Top to seal it because we need to seal our DIY paint so that it doesn't get reactivated with humidity, or if some water gets on it, or if we want to wipe it with our damp cloth to clean it because it is a clay-based paint. So now we're going to take our pieces, and I'm sorry that this is sideways, but it's the only way that I could get this large mirror in frame with my camera. So we're going to take our pieces and glue them to this beautiful frosted mirror frame. So I'm going to put the tree down. I'm going to put the star on top of it and glue it down. I'm going to mark. Okay, that's the tree trunk is not in the middle of the tree, so it was throwing me off to where it was in the middle. So I ended up measuring how far the sides of the tree were from the sides of the frame, so to get it in the center, because that little trunk needed to be in the center to me, but then it was off. So that's what I did there. I was just showing you that you can't always trust that. So I originally decided I was going to use my Type Bond and some hot glue, and I did that with the tree and realized it was totally not necessary, that the hot glue stuck really good to that frosted spray paint. So all the other pieces, I only used hot glue and they stuck like chuck, and it was really good. So I'm going to just glue all the pieces down in their appropriate places where I think that they look good. The star on top of the tree, and then I'm going to put a large, a small, and a small. A little bit asymmetrical because that's what this girl likes. If you like it symmetrical, then by all means make yours symmetrical when you do one. Of course, we create on this channel for inspiration. If you want to make yours exactly like mine and you have the supplies, yay. If not, it's inspiration. And then I had this piece of scrap ribbon in my drawer. I had a lot of pieces of silver and white, and I was trying to figure out what to do, and I ended up just getting this little piece of scrap and a little piece of embroidery thread. Just make a little, like awareness ribbon, and push that little back piece down to make a little bow. I'm going to tie it with that little piece of embroidery thread, floss. And then I had another little piece of ribbon. I kind of want to say this little piece of ribbon was off of a package of something that I saved. And I'm just going to glue it around the center. It's not as wide as my bow, so that was nice. And it's a little bit sheer, so it's not quite as heavy of a ribbon, which is nice to have as your little middle piece. And I'm just going to trim that up. Now on my ends, I'm going to use this fray check. I have that linked in my Amazon store, or you can get at Joann's or Hobby Lobby, any of your craft stores, and it keeps the ends of that ribbon from fraying or getting all messed up. I'm going to glue this down to the top, and this beautiful DIY is done. Let me know what you think about this. Grab some old mirrors and make it over.
How do you think I did on this mirror? Do you think that I upscaled it? Leave me a comment below. Make sure that you like this video and check that subscribe button as always, and make sure that you are subscribed. But most of all, friends, remember to be still and know that He is God.